Good.
Lesson 4, Young Victims of War. Part 1, How can we help young victims of war? In recent years, millions of children and young people have been killed, hurt, or affected by war. Their physical and psychological wounds often last for life. War can hurt the very people that must one day rebuild their countries. For future peace, we must help these young people of war. But the question is, what we should do to help? Some companies answer the question in a simple way. They give part of the money from the sale of their products to organizations that work with young war victims. In this way, people can help simply by buying a certain book, brand of coffee, wine, and so on. In a similar way, thanks to money from books readers, an organization called War Child has helped children in Iraq. Because of war, many schools couldn't prepare their end-of-year exams. War Child gave the paper, books, geometry sets, and pencil sets so that 20,000 12-year-olds students could take their exams and go on to high school. For Muhammad, a 12-year-old boy living in southern Iraq, this was an important step. It brought him closer to his dream of becoming an engineer when he gets older. This may be a small example, but it shows us that helping others can be easier than we think. Part 2. Why was drawing pictures good for young victims of war? Of course, children need more than just books to study with. They also need beauty and creativity. So, some people are bringing art to young victims of war. Art is important, says Hector Sierra of Artists Without Borders, especially for children who have survived war and who have no other way to express themselves. Sierra lives in Tokyo and established AWB after a trip to war-torn Kosovo. For most organizations, the goal is to feed children, not to amuse them, says Sierra. I wanted to help them in the form of art and entertainment. The first mission of AWB was a visit to Kosovo. There, art of origami, for example, was well received. Many refugee children have no toys, so every time we teach them how they can make something like this, quickly they do so. Sierra says as he touches the back of a paper frog. This causes it to hop across the table. Children also made buildings. They often draw tanks rolling past burning buildings or planes raining bombs. As time went on, however, their art changed. They began to use bright crayons instead of dark ones. One child even drew a pretty butterfly flying around a colorful house. It seemed that drawing gave children a needed outlet for negative emotion. Part 3. What's Save the Children been doing for Afghan children? Sport is something children all over the world need and love. But in war areas, many children don't have a place to play. In Afghanistan, for example, children face the problem of landmines. Many can't move around freely in fields. One organization, Save the Children, has been rebuilding parks in the Afghan capital of Kabul so that children can play safely. Since 1996, nearly 30 parks have become safe enough for children to play there. This allowed many children to start playing soccer. Then, soon after the World Cup soccer tournament was held in Japan in 2002, the Kabul Kids Soccer Tournament started. Many children who had practiced in the parks took part. It has since become a big event, and the finals are held at the National Stadium in Kabul, a place used for public killings in the past. Afghanistan now seems to be safe at last, says Arago, a 13-year-old boy who played in the tournament, but who until recently was a refugee. I watched the World Cup on TV. I think we will be able to send our future national team to the World Cup. He sees a bright future, not only for Afghan soccer, but for his country as a whole. Part 4. According to Miss Sadako Ogata, what is the key word for helping young victims of war? So, how can high school students here in Japan help young victims of war? Don't think you must do something for others because you feel sorry for them, says Miss Sadako Ogata, former UN High Commissioner for Refugees. She has a lot of experience working on refugee problems. First, you need to accept them as equals, get to know them, and treat them like any other friend you have. As you get to know the young people who cannot study or who have had to leave their homes because of war, you can learn from them as they learn from you. This brings a feeling of solidarity, and solidarity is much more important than charity alone. Miss Ogata would like Japanese high school students to broaden their horizons, become international, and work together with young people affected by war. She hopes that in that way we can all build peace together.